Well, the UFC has announced that they are going to a new streaming platform. The last 5 years, they've been on ESPN. As you all know, you have to have ESPN Plus to watch some of the fight nights, and then obviously to be able to buy the pay-per-view card over on ESPN. That is going to be no more, as the UFC has reached an agreement, a 7-year, $7.7 billion with a B dollar deal with Paramount. $7.7 billion to stream on Paramount. And that deal is worth more than what Paramount is worth today. Although I would argue with this purchase, Paramount's value probably went way up. But I saw that they had a market capital of 6.6 billion or something like that. Either way, they've gotten into the fighting business, and UFC is moving on. This will start at the beginning of 2026. All UFC streams will be, or events will be, streamed on Paramount Plus. And Dana White came out yesterday saying they want to do 4 big cards a year. And one of them will be, of course, the 4th of July card at the White House. He had confirmed that with us. But the biggest news from this is the UFC is finally moving away from the pay-per-view model. That is exciting for us fans. Yes, with no extra charge. For the $12.99 a month, you can get Paramount Plus and all the great stuff, the great shows and stuff that Paramount Plus has. They actually, Taylor Sheridan stuff is all on Paramount Plus, and they have some of the best original content. You got Landman, you got Mobland. Mobland has been my favorite show of the year. If you haven't seen it, I recommend going and checking that out. That's a good one, Mobland. They've got Tulsa King over there. They got a lot of good original content on Paramount Plus. And now, along with some of the NFL games you are able to see over on Paramount Plus, you will be able to see, starting in 2026, every single UFC card. They're going to have 13 numbered events, so 13 main UFC, like normal pay-per-views that you would see throughout the year, but you don't have to pay the $80 pay-per-view price. You just have to pay your $12.99 to get Paramount Plus. You can watch all the fight nights, all the main cards. Dana said there's going to be 4 big cards. You know, they love the International Fight Week. They have the big event at the White House. There's still the main UFC event, but they usually stack a couple cards a year. He says it's going to be 4. That is exciting. That is a big win for us fans, and a big win for the UFC. I think this is a good deal for everyone. Big win for Paramount, because they're going to get a lot more signups, a lot more subscribers. Big win for us fans, because now we don't have to chill out over $1,100 a year to watch every single UFC fight. I'll be honest, I maybe only buy one a year now, because I mean, the card's got to be worth it. And a lot of the older fighters that I enjoyed watching are retired or about to retire or washed up, and some of these cards just aren't worth getting. They aren't worth getting, but now you don't have to worry about that. And this is a big win for the UFC, because not only are they going to get that, over $1 billion a year from Paramount Plus, which with ESPN, they were getting $500 million. So they over doubled what they're getting contract wise with streaming service. But now they're going to be in more people's homes. More people are going to tune into the UFC. The diehards like myself and you guys that love UFC and have been an MMA fan for a while, we're going to be there no matter what. Now they're going to get some eyeballs at people that wouldn't normally tune in, because they're not going to pay $80 for this UFC event. But then it's going to be Saturday night, and like, hey, I have Paramount Plus. All the big football games are done. I'm just hanging out. Maybe the missus went to bed early. Let's throw on this UFC card. Let's see what this hype's all about. They're going to get a lot more eyeballs, which is great for everyone. It's great for everyone. Brendan Schaub, though, shout out Brendan Schaub, ex-UFC fighter. Now he's a podcaster / comedian. I'll be honest, I think Brendan is way funnier on a podcast than his actual stand-up. It's no shot at him. There's just some people that are like, they're funnier to hear. I even think, although he's really good at stand-up, Chris D'Elia, I like him in podcast form than his stand-up. His stand-up's good, but when he just riffs on a podcast, especially when he goes on someone else's show, I think it's funnier. But Brendan Schaub thinks this is terrible for the fighters, and I strongly disagree with him on this. I agree with a lot of what he's saying, but I actually think this is a good deal for the UFC fighters. And I'll explain why. But first, let's listen to Brendan and what his take is on this. And I will be pausing this before you guys get mad at me. I will be pausing this just in case, so no copyright issues and whatnot. Not that I think that they would claim it or anything like that, but you never know. You never know. So we will be pausing and reacting to this.
UFC signs a 7.7 billion. That's with a B, y'all. 7.7.
I didn't copy that from him, by the way. I forgot he even said that. God, great minds think alike. How about that? What up, Yaz? Yaz Mox? How we doing? How we doing? Good morning. And Patriot says, is this an ad? I wish. It's not an ad. I wish they'd pay me. I sell the shit out of this for them. Paramount Plus, reach out to me. I know you got some money. Might not have much now that you blew your wad on the UFC, but if you want to come sponsor the show, I will pump your stuff, get you signups. You just let me know.
Billion broadcast deal with Paramount. Pay-per-view model will end in 2026. Because the UFC, when they had a pay-per-view model, were forced to build stars in order to get money based off pay-per-view. They got rid of that model because they're done building stars. Those days.
I agree with them that with the pay-per-view model to sell pay-per-views, you had to make stars. That's why Conor McGregor blew up and was so huge, and that they pumped Conor McGregor. I mean, one, he's just entertaining. Whether he's polarizing, whether you like him or hate him, you tuned in. You either liked him because you want to see him win, or you tuned in because you want to see him get his ass kicked, right? But that's how you would sell cards. There's a reason why Conor McGregor is a majority of the top 5 UFC or even top 10 UFC all-time pay-per-view buys, because people tuned in. They built him up as a star. I still would argue today he would sell the most, even though he hasn't fought since 2021. He'd probably break one of the records if they were to do a pay-per-view model with Conor McGregor, because people just want to tune in and see him get his ass kicked. But he's right. Now they don't have to build stars.
These are done. It's not good. None of this is good. It's good for Dana. It's good for TKO. It's good for the shareholders. This is all bad for the fighters in every facet. Now you might say, well, they're going to get more exposure being on Paramount Plus and people don't have to pay for it. You're right. But remember, more exposure doesn't mean more money.
That's where I disagree. Everything he's saying there is correct, except for the part about the fighters and why it's bad for them and why more exposure isn't actually good for them and doesn't translate to more money. Yes, it does. If you look at the fighters as a whole, it's hard enough to get into the UFC, let alone try to become a star and a champion. But to make the big money right now, there's only a handful of people in the UFC that make the big money, of the fighters that make good money, life-changing money, right? Unless you're unless you're one of these guys that is really good, not good enough to ever win the championship, but you're good, serviceable, top 5 in your division. And we've seen this with some of the fighters. They'll fight 5-6 times a year. 1, because they can do it, and 2, because they need to fight to keep getting those paychecks. Whereas when you're a UFC champion, that's where you make the bank. You're a UFC champion, you only got to fight twice a year. Why? 1, your contract, you're getting paid a lot more money in your contract, but 2, you get those pay-per-view points. You get a percentage of the pay-per-view, you get a percentage of all those buys, and that's where you start making the millions. Now that's going away, and some of the champions, I was listening to Tom Aspinall talk to Ariel Helwani yesterday. They don't know how that's going to affect things. Obviously the UFC is going to have to come to these guys and work out a deal to get these guys compensated, but the champions are going to be compensated. They're going to get more money. It's just they're going to find a way to replace what those pay-per-view points would be, and those champions are going to be okay. All right, they're going to get paid. But this is great for the average fighter, because with the old model, you had to be champ to make the big bucks. Now you don't. Now you just got to be entertaining. You could be a guy up and coming and start taking off on social media. Obviously, you got to go out and win, but now more people are going to see you. Now you have a chance to lure in more fans. The more fans you get, the bigger you can make your social media presence, the more deals you're going to get. We see this all the time. Look at the WNBA. Does anyone think Sophie Cunningham is the best WNBA player? No. She's mid at best if we actually look at her skills on the court. But what did she do? She took advantage of a situation. She knows how to market, and she's off and running and making more money than she ever would through the WNBA by doing marketing deals because she became a fan favorite. And she doesn't have to be the best player to get those deals. Now she's got a deal with Arby's. She wore a shirt that says "Hot girls eat Arby's," "Hot chicks eat Arby's," or something like that, right? She's all over the place. She's ran with this dildo gate stuff, right? She's a fan favorite. I would never buy a WNBA jersey, but if I was forced to buy one, I would buy Sophie Cunningham because she's likable. And she's not the biggest star. Now, a lot of these fighters, they don't have to be champion. They don't have to be the biggest star. They just have to take a moment, become a fan favorite, know how to market yourself on social media, and you're going to make a ton of money outside of the UFC. I think this is better for the average fighter than it is for, than the old model where only the top people really got the big bucks. Now your average fighter, your really good fighter, your top 5 fighter is going to get paid. They're going to get sponsorship deals more so than they would in the old model. And they're going to have more eyeballs on them. That's why it's good to have more eyeballs, because then you're going to get more fans, new fans, tuning into some of these fighters that they normally wouldn't have tuned into. So I think this is going to be great for the fighters as a whole. The guys at the top are going to be taken care of no matter what. But more exposure to more people, more chances to go viral and become a fan favorite will lead to better opportunities for these fighters and more money and more sponsorship contracts. So that's where I disagree with Brendan here about this being bad for the fighters. I think if you're looking at the fighters as a whole, this is a great opportunity. Now first of all, you got to show up, and then you got to know how to market. That's on you. All right. And if you don't know how to market, you're not good at any of that stuff, well, then you better hope you become champion. All right. You better hope you become champion. You got to do something polarizing. Whether it's you're a likable fan favorite or you're a heel and people hate you and just want to tune in and see you lose. Either way, this is a great opportunity for all fighters.
And now we're here. And they've doubled their revenue. But the fighters are getting paid exactly the fucking same. Okay. Okay.
Contracts are contracts. Those are already signed. So I get what he's saying there. UFC's double the revenue and the fighters are getting paid the same. That's going to change. New contracts are going to come up. There's going to be renegotiations. Fighters are going to see a bump in pay raise. Guaranteed. But as I said, more exposure is a good thing. It gives more opportunities to more fighters to make a living outside of the UFC. That's just my thoughts on it. I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys on the next